Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Wolf She Never Knew. Episode 5. Chapter 34. Today is the day that the pack learns my brother is the official alpha of the pack and my best friend becomes their Luna. 2 ceremonies in one afternoon. Everything was ready and absolutely perfect. Not a single thing was out of place. The evening went smoothly and the pack seemed to embrace their new Alpha and Luna. Whispers broke out when Michael told them of the activities Ryder was a part of. I smiled and made small talk among the pack members, many apologizing for any wrongdoings or not stepping in. All was forgiven, even though I did believe in protecting the weak. Claire was a prime example of that and I knew the pack would flourish under her command. Everest walked to me and the evening was winding down. The wolves I happened to be chatting with bowed their head out of respect. His arm snaked around my waist and pulled me to him. Would my beautiful mate care to dance? I smiled up to him. I would love to. Excuse me everyone. He led me out to the dance floor and put his hand in mine and another around my waist. We slowly danced in the middle of the dance floor. Others who were dancing seemed to naturally move out of our way. We have decided to let Alex back in the pack, as long as he completes his year-long probation of community service helping those who need it. Then once the year of community service is up, the next 2 years he will be under the watchful eye of Josh and whoever Josh chooses as his beta. He will be doing 3 training sessions daily and teaching the younger pups who are starting out. His voice was lowered and with the sound of the music, if anyone had heard him, it would have been difficult. Basically he is going to be extremely busy. I said. Absolutely, our hope is that he will enjoy training new pups and take that on for the rest of his career. He leaned down and placed a soft kiss on my mouth and I smiled against his lips. Thank you for helping me and your brother see a better solution. We will be leaving in the morning to go back home. We have so much work that needs to be done. He sighed. Let us just enjoy this moment, this song, this dance together before tonight ends. I told him and he pulled me closer to him. I laid my head on his chest as we slowly danced around the room together. Back home the plane touched down with a few bumps and went to the direction of our SUVs. Security was thicker than ever. His mother, April, went in her own SUV. She had other vehicles surrounding her and 2 in front then 2 behind. Ours followed the 2 behind her and we had 4 behind us. All of the SUVs matched in style and color. If anything was to happen it would be hard to tell who was in what. When we arrived home, our door was opened up and people were all around. Security ushered us inside to where a letter was passed to us. King Everest, I write this to inform you that if you do not free my daughter Sarah from her prison cell, I will be pulling my men and women from your territory to merge with your enemy. You will then be holding her captive and we will act accordingly. For you to break a spoken bond with my daughter is distasteful and will be your absolute downfall. The whore, they you claim to be your mate, should really be properly disposed of at once. You know deep down she is no queen, no true queen. My daughter should be and will be the queen of her people. Dexter has written me offering Sarah just that. So it is just the matter of who will be her king? Do not waste time in your decision as you don't have that much time left. If you choose wrong I will pray that the moon goddess have mercy on your soul. Sir Brennan. I watched Everest hand clench the letter and a deadly growl rumbled deep inside him. He passed the note to me as I read it. When I finished it left a frown on my face. Is he that stupid? Sarah was never promised to you. I looked over to him and Everest hung his head. Was she? Well, not really. We fooled around with one another and she went to functions with me. I never really truly loved her though. It was more lust than anything. We did have an agreement that if neither of us found our fated mate that we would consider the option of marriage. Many years from now, of course. He shook his head. This is why she hated you and probably done what she did. She thought if she got rid of you I would just be with her. She thought Dexter wanted you dead, not have you as his mate. I rolled my eyes and walked off to my study. I was angry, spitting for angry. Everest was hot on my heels as I sat down, contemplating on writing him a letter in return. I glared at the sheet of paper in front of me and finally sighed. I laid the pen down and put the paper back up, refusing to stoop to his pathetic level, no matter how angry I was. I would hate to be on the other side of that letter. I imagine it would have been pretty nasty. He chuckled and had an amused look on his face. It so would have been the worst FU note I would have ever written to anyone. I laughed with him. I just decided to be the bigger person and not stoop to his level. I sighed. He sat across from me and crossed his arms. So babe, speaking of, what would you like to do with Sarah? I honestly think she should die for her role in the murdering of the king, but she may just rot in her cell, never experience outside life again. I would strip her of her titles. Who knows what our people will decide what is fair. I hope they give her the justice she deserves. I looked across from him and leaned back in my chair. If they don't, I am king now and can overrule what they decide. Especially considering now her father is threatening people. The way he was looking at me made my head tilt slightly and smile. What is it? I asked. You just look perfect sitting behind that desk and making decisions. He grinned. Absolutely beautiful, too. He sat up and moved closer to my desk before standing. Anyway, want to go visit Sarah? Show her the letter Daddy Dearest sent. He grinned. Absolutely, I do. I stood and walked to the door. As I walked past the desk and Everest pulled me to his chest, my back was to him. He pushed my hair to the side and kissed his mark on my neck and I shivered. Sparks were shooting through me as his hands rested on my hips. He kissed along my collarbone softly and I closed my eyes, leaning my head back, giving him more access to my neck. You best stop before we can't quit. I turned in his arms and my arms wrapped around him, smiling as he gazed down to me. I love you. He spoke softly and leaned his head down and kissed my forehead softly. He wrapped his arms tighter to me. I love you. I stuttered out. I meant each small word and I inhaled his scent. Let us go see Sarah. He let me go but quickly took my hand in his. He guided us out of the room and to the cells. When we walked to the door that would let us in, a heavy security presence was there. I could smell the stench from here. Cells were no joke. There wasn't showers given every day here. You would be lucky to get one every few weeks. It was barbaric really when you thought about it. We were nothing like the humans who made sure that our criminals had 3 meals a day, access to activities, and amenities. You had to do something terrible to be here and you would be treated terrible if you were here. It is easier if you breathe through your mouth. Everest looked down at me and I nodded my head a little in understanding. I am sure you get used to it after a while. I looked at some of the guards and they shrugged. It gets easier with time, that's for sure. He bowed his head as we walked by, walking behind us for any extra protection. We walked deep into the cell and the only lights were the small lights in between the cell walls. It was dark and damp feeling as I shuddered a little. We finally reached her cell and when I looked at her, I felt sorry for her. Going from a high-ranking position to the lowest of lows has to be rough on her. She had lost weight and her clothes were dirty. I let Everest approach her and I stayed back with the guard. Everest? You're here. I heard hope in her voice as she spoke. Please let me out. She begged. Everest didn't speak as he watched her. She was on the floor and moved to standing. Her legs were covered in dirt. What is that? She pointed to his neck and I saw him smirk at her and I wanted to rub it in her face. Instead I tried to kill her with kindness. Your father has written you a note. I interrupted, stepping forward from the shadows. I held the letter that was given to us in my hand. Everest smiled as I handed it to him. Well, he wrote to us, to give us a warning message and an ultimatum. I looked at her as I could see the anger rise in her face. I turned to the guard. Will you please get a change of clothes, warm soapy water, a sandwich, and a bottle of water for her? Yes ma'am. He turned to pass along the message and one of the other guards took off quickly. Well, what did my father have to say? She crossed her arms as she watched us both. Either I let you go to be a mate with Dexter who I will kill. Or I give up my fated mate and have you as mine. He stated flatly and then laughed. Like either of those options are viable options for you. After everything you have said, done, planned, and tried getting away with? Over my dead body. He growled at her and she took a step back from the silver bars. I will, however, lessen whatever your sentence is and show some mercy if you give up some information on what happened in here a few days ago. I know that Ryder was in the cell across the way. She looked at the cell across the way and she looked back to the floor. Yes, I know what happened. No, I don't think I will tell you anything yet. Until I have it in writing what my stipulations are and I request to see my father. Or I can just skip your trial, find you guilty of being an accomplice to murder of the king and kidnapping of the future queen and drag you through the courtyard. I might add, while our people throw whatever at you and tie you up in the middle of the beheading yard for a week before you are put to death. He shrugged. It is of course your choice. My eyes widened and I looked over at Sarah after hearing my mate. I didn't think the woman could pale any more, but whatever color was in her face left her completely. I knew she didn't have any options left. Please Sarah, make the right choice here. You've made your mistakes, but let's try to right them while we can. I offered her and she looked at me. I could see the hatred living in her eyes. I watched as Sarah struggled with her slim choices. It was either one or the other. It would be a choice of life or a choice of death. There was absolutely no way I would allow her to live if she chose the path to death. I would end her life before her father stepped a toe into this kingdom. That was something else I would want to handle immediately. He will not get away with that one. If I had it my way, I would strip him of everything and put him in the cell next to her. I felt my anger rising inside, but outside I appeared to be calm and collective. I saw Everest glance at me and shift his weight. I knew he could feel my anger starting to build through our connection. Sarah was quiet for too long and I was growing tired and annoyed. You have about 2 seconds to answer before you seal your own fate. My voice sounded cold, harsh. Please do not interrupt my kindness extended to you previously as a weakness. I know someone of your stature is not used to living in such poor and uncomfortable conditions. Make no mistake that I won't walk out of this cell with my mate and never look back. So, will you give us the information we are looking for or will you sign your own death? I glared through her as if she was the gum on the bottom of my shoe. As I spoke to her, my words became a jagged-edged sword. I got more angry with every word that left my mouth. My voice showed exactly how annoyed I was. Sarah began to shrink back into her cell, stumbling over the uneven floor as she backed up. Yes, she said. Yes, Everest asked her. I will give you the information that I have or what I saw. She had her head down, looking at her feet. Clean yourself up, eat, drink. We will move you to a more comfortable cell. I will supply you with a pen and paper and you will write to your father telling him to stand down, you're fine, and in this letter you will confess your crimes. I will take a photo of this letter to keep for my own records. I will also read the letter to make sure you're not saying anything else other than that and pleasantries. If you attempt to double-cross me, it will be your death. He looked at her, rage and hate laced his words. Sarah looked at him with tears in her eyes, holding them back the best she could. Her voice trembled as she knew it was over with him. I won't double-cross you. I swear it. She looked over to me. I am very sorry. I didn't say anything to her, just looked at her. Moments later the guard arrived with the items I requested. I swore I heard her stomach growl as she looked at the large sandwich on the plate. We will leave you for now. You will be moved in a few hours to a more comfortable cell. Tomorrow we will discuss your terms and our conditions. I told her as Everest reached for my hand. I took his hand and let him lead me out of the cells. When we reached the main security office, I requested a tour of the better cells. I wanted to make sure there was a silver-barred window for her to look out of, an accessible toilet area and a bed. It didn't have to be cozy and comfortable, just livable. She would be escorted twice daily for a walk and would be expected to help cleaning hospital rooms. She would never have less than 3 security team members while she was out. This would be a slow process and not everything would be immediate. One slip up and it all gets taken away. I thought about this the entire was up, and when we walked into his office I sat down. I looked over at him and he was flustered. I don't know what to do. Well, what about we move her and allow her to write the letter to her father first? I sat back in the chair. Okay. Yeah, I mean after that. He sighed. I feel like we need to wait until we get his response before we move forward with whatever plans we come up with. Then we might be able to give her supervised walks, maybe cleaning hospital rooms. All of these, of course, will be heavily security detailed. I watched his facial expressions as he contemplated my ideas. Those are some good points and ideas. I will take them into consideration. He wrote them down on a post-it note. This may take weeks or months to implement. She is definitely going to have to prove herself and her worth. I leaned my head back and looked at the ceiling. I heard Everest move in his chair and yawn. We need to discuss when we will have our ceremonies as well. I groaned when all this ends. Agreed. I am just catching heat from the council about you not being crowned and not being one with our territory even if you are marked. You have no direct line of communication with anyone except me. Well, you can tap into their thoughts but they can't hear you. His chair squeaked and I looked over to him. Maybe we should have the ceremony tomorrow. It can be small, intimate with just us who is here. I suggested. I'll arrange it then. He picked up his phone, dialing a number, and told whoever was on the other side the plan. I needed to find a suitable dress, nothing fancy but work casual at the least. I stood and walked over to Everest, leaning down and kissing him on the mouth. I need to pick out an outfit for tomorrow. Want to help? I smiled and he nodded his head. I have a bunch of work attire dresses, I just don't know which to pick. We walked up to our room together and went straight to the closet. He threw himself across the bed and got comfortable. When I walked into the closet I picked out 7 of my favorites, bringing them outside to show him. I looked over at him and his head was resting on his arm that was propping him up. I started showing them and he narrowed it down to 3. I went to put the others up and tried on the rest. After much deliberating we chose a soft yellow dress with a black blazer. The dress was knee-length and had a flattering fit. I felt sophisticated in it. I paired it with small silver earrings, black heels, and a slim silver bracelet. I walked out and looked at Everest and his smile widened. You look absolutely breathtaking. Definitely look like you're going to conquer anything that comes your way. He grinned as he sat up in the bed. I smiled over to him as I turned around to show off the dress more. I walked away to the closet and removed the clothes, hanging them back up. I put on my other clothes as I heard someone knocking frantically on the door. What is it? Everest asked as a warrior was breathing frantically at our door. I am sorry sir, but I ran here to tell you there has been an attack on one of the smaller packs. We believe it to be Dexter. He is trying to conquer our territory and gain numbers. His movements look to be heading in the direction toward the Eastern Territory along the coast. I walked out frowning. You are certain it is Dexter? I asked. Yes ma'am. Spotters have confirmed it to be him and his army of lichens and wolves. He had a nervousness in his voice and my heart ached for our people who were suffering. Thank you. Call a meeting with the top warriors and set up a video conference with King Brent this evening. We need to try to get any information we can. The warrior bowed and left immediately to do as he was instructed. Everest, I wonder if Miranda is okay? We need to make sure to ask while we are talking with him. I am sure she is missing Cassie terribly. He nodded his head. I need to adjust your ceremony into the pack to tomorrow morning, we may have to leave in the afternoon. He rubbed his face. I wanted to rip off Dexter's head and separate it from his body entirely. He is absolutely insane and not thinking clearly. Which, from what I can tell, he hasn't thought clearly ever in his life. Jealousy is not a good look on him, or anyone for that matter. I pulled out an older, and I am sure an outdated map of our territory. I really wasn't up to speed and wanted to be able to visualize where he was going or headed. I didn't hear him come up behind me, but I could feel his body heat radiating off of him. What are you doing, love? He asked, peering over my shoulder. I am trying to see where we can go to cut him off. Or just where we need to go in general? I searched the map and sighed. I see. Well, I don't want you going. It is too dangerous. I turned and looked at him. Was he seriously not going to let me help my people? No. Oh, I am going. I am going to help our people and do what I can to save them from this madman. I challenged him and he frowned. I just can't risk losing you again. His head hung then. Then stay by my side and I'll stick to yours, but I am going. I felt Charlotte's courage and her cheering me on. Fine, but stay close to me when we are out there. He had an unhappy look on his face. I will. Trust me. I wrapped my arms around him in a hug. Thank you. I woke up with a heavy feeling. Today was going to be rough. I had so much I needed to do, to accomplish, and a jam-packed schedule. I started the coffee that was in our room while Everest still slept. I walked into the bathroom, showered, done my makeup, and my hair. I was sitting at my vanity thinking of what we could possibly do. Do we fight an unknown sizable army of lichens, wolves, and whatever else he has picked up along the way? Go into this blind? I really do not think that is the best option we have. I sighed as I burnt my finger on my curling iron and looked at the burn. I need more coffee, I said to myself as I stood and walked out in my robe and saw Everest busy on his phone. He glanced up at me and smiled. I returned the smile to him as I poured and fixed my coffee. Good morning. The hint of sleep still lingering in his raspy deep voice. Good morning. I sipped my coffee and walked over to him, sitting down. So I don't think we should go directly to war unknowingly or unaware of what he has. I do think, however, we should go and evacuate the wolf and lichen packs and send them here to stay with the many hotels we have. We can give the hotels a generous donation for helping accommodate the needs of their territory. While we out and see what Dexter's numbers truly are. He looked at me as he pondered the idea. We will need to discuss this with our council leaders. It is a very good idea, he stated. I will bring it up to them. I think, believe, that this is honestly our best option to preventing casualties from Dexter's wrath. We can have everyone train together, in obvious shifts until we are ready to go. I stood and walked to the closet to change. Where are you going? He asked. To finish getting ready, well dressed I suppose. For the ceremony. I smiled and closed the door. I got ready and walked out of the room. Everest was already dressed and we walked down together. The ceremony was quick and initiated me into the royal family. It wasn't the crowning ceremony, but it was without the crown. We would save that for when everyone could be present. I felt an instant connection when invited into the royal link. It was like a bright connecting wire literally tied me to my people. Feel any different? Amber asked. I do, in a not so big way, just small. Like more connected to our people. It's weird explaining something that you can't really see to describe. It's just a feeling. I smiled, but I feel better knowing that I can communicate with our people now and not just one-sided. I smiled. I truly was happy as we walked behind Jameson and Everest discussing my idea. I overheard Jameson call the plan brilliant and it made me feel good inside. Well, I want you there at the council meeting to help persuade them if they need it. Then you are in charge of gathering a scouting team to send out under your command. Take Ted if you need to, he may not admit it, but he is fantastic with details and spotting things others may have missed. Of course, Everest, anything we can do to help you guys out. Jameson responded. Thank you, we really do appreciate it. I told him. Can't you overthrow the council though, Everest? Amber asked him and he nodded. I can, but it's frowned upon and creates friction where we don't need it. Especially now that Dexter has made a quick recovery and is back on the move. They really would disagree with us leaving the kingdom and want to close off all gates and be hermits. He paused and let out an aggravated sigh. I am obviously not going to do that. My father, Goddess rest his soul, in his later years would send out his team of men. They would scout and bring back whatever he requested. I am more of boots on the ground kind of leader. I want to be right in the thick of it with my men. Of course you do, babe. That is how our people learn to trust and look up to you. You're a great king to our people. I told Everest. Absolutely. 1,000,000%. I agree. Jameson stated. We gathered the papers of information that we organized and went to the council meeting. Everest and Jameson argued back and forth with the members of the council. Everest was right about one thing, they wanted to sit back and see what he was doing. I got annoyed at their unwillingness to help our people who needed protection. I listened to both sides and decided to start looking deeper into their minds. I went from member to member until I stumbled upon something that seemed interesting. Well, dangerous really, and I glared at him. I felt the link open between Amber and myself. You okay? She asked me. The man in navy, who is he? I asked her. That is Mr. Wild. He's from one of the oldest families in our territory. Very rich and extremely powerful because of his position in the council. He is one that is super trusted throughout the castle. Why do you ask? I saw her glance over at me, curious as to why I singled him out of everyone. He helped let the person from Dexter's men to come in to help Ryder escape. He also was supposed to help Sarah as well, but failed? The more I pry, the more blurry it seems to be. But he did supply the guns and the silver bullets to Ryder and the person who helped him escape. I told her honestly. Amber gasped out loud and all eyes went to her. Spider. She stomped her foot and raked her shoe eye across the carpet. Dead now. Just scared me. No worries. She laughed it off and the guys went back to talking. Smooth, really smooth. I laughed between our link. Sorry. You just took me by surprise. That wasn't something I would have expected from him. He was super trusted with Everest's father, friends even. So I am surprised you uncovered that. She was angry with him, I could feel it through our link. Think they will leave for a moment if I ask the council members to leave? I asked her. They may ask you why, but you don't have to tell them the reason. Or you can come up with a fake one on the spot. She told me. I stood and walked to the center of the room and smiled at them all. I spoke very softly to them. Excuse me, gentlemen, would you mind leaving us for just a little moment? I have received an important private message from my brother and need to share the information. It is very important and brings news of a friend. They nodded and left the room. I waited until the door closed and looked at Amber, then the guys. I decided to use my linking and linked them, all three of them, into the conversation. Okay. I started and they both looked confused. Eavesdroppers, I explained quickly before they opened their mouths to actually speak out where others could hear. Ah! They both said in unison. So Amber already knows this and this is the reason, she gasped. The man who was the most pushy against what you were saying, Mr. Wilde I think is his name? He is guilty of letting in one of Dexter's men as a guard. He is the one who presented the gun with silver bullets to Dexter's man and to Ryder. I watched their faces change into a pure rage. Hair began to sprout on their arms, shifting to fur as they were both beginning to shift. Go get them! Everest roared as he was in mid-shift. I nodded my head and walled outside. The men nodded and followed me back inside. I shut the door immediately and they stopped. They looked at me in fear because Everest was stalking toward them. Only one of you should be afraid right now. One of you have committed a treasonous crime and have become a traitor. You all know that means death. My eyes narrowed on the man who was guilty. He looked absolutely terrified and was shaking where he stood. He went to start shifting but Everest clutched him by the throat, cutting off most of his air supply. Why? He growled. Why would you help the man who killed my father, your friend? The older man gasped for air and clawed at Everest's hands, trying his best to free him. Everest slammed him on the ground and Jameson quickly picked him up, and detained his hands. Jameson faced the older man to Everest. Sarah, was all he said. Sarah. Everest was just as confused as everyone else. Yes, she is family. A cousin, maybe third. Her father told me to set them free. But only Ryder was able to get free, they left her behind when the guards were able to gain access in. Ted made sure of that. They left her behind. He closed his eyes and it made sense why Sarah was hesitant on telling us anything at all. I watched as Everest realized the entire thing. The council members were angry with him, I was angry with him, everyone in the room was just angry. I will not fight you. I will take my punishment. I understand what that might be and if it's death, let it be quick. He said in the most calm voice there was. Guards! In here! Everest's voice boomed through the room, echoing off the walls. The sound caused myself and Amber to flinch at the loudness of his voice. The men came rushing in quickly as I am sure they heard what was going on previously. Take Mr. Wilde into custody, search him for any weapons, and then bring him to the prison cells below. Please use caution, this one likes to carry silver. His words were laced with poison that shot out like daggers. The guards searched him and took him away. The other 3 council members looked amongst themselves almost as if in a silent conversation. One stepped up and looked between the 4 of us before he cleared his throat to speak. You want to go out there and now we see why. You don't know who to trust in this trying time. The only ones you can trust are within your private circle. You have our approval to whatever means necessary. Whatever it takes to get our fellow people out safe and out of harm's way, we will ensure happens. Even if it means taking them into the human territory until we are ready, we will pay the human hotels every single day until this is over. Our people is our responsibility. Do what you must, but please be careful. This Dexter is wild and obviously very dangerous. Everest walked over to the 3 of them and shook their hands, thanking them each. I knew it was time to get ready. ready to leave and onto a new mission and a new purpose. It was going to be a long next few days as we rush to evacuate Pax, but it has to be done. This is something that we cannot fail. We would need to go with an army of warriors at our sides, just in case we ran into Dexter along the way. A small part of me hoped that we would. That small part also wanted to destroy the bastard and rip him to pieces. We couldn't risk going alone and getting caught behind enemy lines. This mission was going to be very risky and dangerous. I couldn't be more excited as my legion craved revenge and stirred inside. Everything seemed to move quickly after we left the council meeting. Mr. Wilde was in custody. We touched base with Sarah and told her what had happened with her distant cousin. She hung her head and sighed. It was something I was ashamed of. I am very sorry for the headache my family, including myself, has caused you both. When we left there, we went down to the training ground where they were loading up the vehicles. I felt Charlotte stirring inside, itching to get out. Soon you will be running AMD let free. We will get our revenge on that bastard. I promised her. After we finished helping in loading our SUV, we walked to the training grounds where our warriors were waiting for us. They were instructed to bring a backpack filled with necessary items for a very long trip. When we walked in together, heads were bowed and the room quickly went silent as a sign of respect towards us. It was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop in the far corners of the room. You could feel everyone was anxious to know what was going on and where we were going. We did not give them much information to go off of. Jameson and Amber were already there waiting for us to arrive. I gave them both a quick smile as we walked by them and to the center stage. They followed right behind us and walked towards the stage. The tension in the air was thick, so thick you could cut it with a knife. As we passed by the warriors, I felt their eyes on us. We walked up on the stage and I looked around. A 360 view of our strongest, most capable, and bravest warriors. I was proud of them and I said a quick silent prayer to the moon goddess to keep all of us safe during our extraction mission. I listened to Everest as he began speaking to our group, his voice booming across the crowd. Thank you everyone for joining us on such short notice. I know that rumors have been flying around. We are here to not only inform you of what we are doing here today but to catch you all up to speed. I listened as my eyes scanned the room. Several, well, most were listening and paying close attention, hanging on to Everest's every word. Some was looking at me curious, which was understandable considering I have not been formally introduced to the kingdom until now. As you may know, me and a few warriors and surrounding packs went on a mission recently to retrieve my mate and your now queen. Everest looked over to me for a moment before turning back to the warriors. He walked in the wide circle, including every single person in the room on his speech. Dexter from the Southern Territory has went rouge and become very dangerous. He killed his own father and attempted to murder his very own brother. Dexter is responsible for the murder of my father, the two guards, helping with the escapee rider to be set free, the young Leakin clerk worker at the clothing store, the two male warriors in my security detail, and the kidnapping of my mate, your queen, Avalynn. He is trying to overthrow our kingdom, our territory. When he is done with us, he plans on overthrowing his brother in the south. The mission was successful in returning Avalynn but also a failure when Dexter was able to escape. Everest paused and looked out at the crowd as they were digesting the information they received. You could feel the anger in them. I walked up now to speak. I don't know where it came from, but I needed them to hear from me. I knew what Everest was wanting to say to them. Warriors, today we ask you here, ready to carry out another mission with us. The road ahead may be dangerous, make no mistake of that. Dexter has licked and cleaned his wounds and is back at it again. He is moving through the eastern coast of our territory. He is killing innocents who refuse to work with them and their families. He's pushing towards the Leakin pack of Sir Brennan, who is making threats, half infiltrated the Leakin pack's council members. He is threatening to help Dexter, overthrow your king, and kill every person standing in their way. Now I ask you in this time of need to help us rescue these families who are in the direct path of their destruction, to conquer what is yours, what is ours. This may be a rescue mission, but we could very well clash with Sir Brennan or Dexter along the way. So stay aware, be alert, and never let your guard down. I stepped back and looked at the crowd in front of us. I had walked circles around the stage as I talked to the crowd. I looked now as they all discussed what was going on. They were angry, furious, and ready to fight for the cause. I was proud of them all, as they were ready to put their life on the line to help others. Everest took my hand in his and whispered, "Good job, my love. You have inspired them today. They will follow you through hellfire now." He let my hand go and stepped up to the group. He raised his hands and silence was soon brought through the crowd of people. "Warriors, during this journey we will be bringing warrior wolves and lycans with us. As we speak now, Avalynn's brother Alpha Josh and Luna Claire are on their way here to help out with our people in our absence. I have already hand-picked 30 or so warriors to stay behind to help protect, serve, and direct incoming fleeing families. Word is that some have already fled looking for protection. The hotels around are already aware and have open doors ready to serve. Everyone will be meeting outside in the next hour. We have a team of SUVs to carry what we need along the way. We also have another team of SUVs to carry back the weak or the elderly and children who cannot shift. See you all in an hour. If you have questions, please see either myself, Jameson, or Ted. Ted will be leaving with the scouting team in 30 minutes. He stepped back and everyone started filtering out of the room one by one. They spoke amongst theirself as they left. I had a woman approach me. She was tall with long dark hair that was pulled high up in a ponytail. "Queen?" she asked for me. "Yes." I didn't know her name and smiled politely at her. "I just wanted to say that we all are very thankful for your safety and that you are brave enough to face this monster of a Leakin head-on." I looked past her and several women were standing there and I smiled at them all. "Thank you. I do believe that he deserves to be brought to justice," I told the group. "We agree. I am Angela, these are my close group of friends who are the female trainers. We would like to be your personal security team through this process. When we stop we will help you train and build your skills if you would like." She bowed her head and I felt excitement run through me. "Give me 1 second to discuss this with my mate, it will have to be his final approval," I told them. "Just wait right here 1 second." I looked over to Everest and he was with Jameson answering questions. I walked over to him and the warriors moved aside as I approached, making room for me to pass. "Excuse us for a moment, please." I took Everest by the hand and led him away from the group. "So Angela and the group of female warriors have asked, volunteered to be my personal security team and to help train when we are able to along the way," I told him and he smiled. "Really? That's impressive. Angela is hardcore and the best female warrior we have. The women trainers we have are the best around. I feel that you would be completely safe in their care. They're hardcore and vicious. You could learn a lot in just a small amount of time. If it is what you want, then do it. He kissed my head. So you approve? I looked up to him. I do, but do you approve of them? He questioned and I nodded my head. Then go tell them the good news. I walked off to them and Amber had joined the group. I remembered seeing her when we were training and she was pretty badass herself. Of course she would know them, I thought to myself. I approached the group and they all looked at me. So? Amber said excitedly. What did he say? He said the final decision is up to me. That every single one of you are absolute ass kickers, AMD hardcore. With that said, I would be honored if you ladies assisted me as my security detail along this mission. Congratulations, ladies. You all have the promotion and title as Royal Security Detail Queen's Division. I shook their hands and we heard the bell ringing. It was time to head outside. We looked around and everyone was there and loading up the SUVs with their things. 12 more SUVs pulled up behind the ones we had. Those must be the transporting team. I realized the scouting team had already slipped off ahead of us. I walked and stood next to Everest as he spoke to the crows again. Remember everyone, this mission could be dangerous, so it is imperative that you keep your eyes and ears open. Anything suspicious needs to be reported through the link immediately. If it is suspicious activity, be sure to remain calm as to not alert them that you know they're there. A higher rank will be at your side immediately to scout the activity and take action if it is an immediate threat to our group. Make sure when we stop you eat, get your water intake, stretch, and train. Stay focused, stay safe. This mission cannot happen without you. Let us shift and begin our mission. Everest shifted and I shifted with him. We stood together as we watched everyone shift around us. When it was finally time and everyone was shifted, we began to run to the forest. It sounded like thunder through the woods. Growling, anger, fury, and hatred was felt through our open link. Communication between my security detail had a direct link to myself and to Everest. We ran quickly and efficiently. We were faster than the SUVs who had to stay on the paved roads. We would reach the pack that was destroyed before nightfall. The SUVs would be pushing ahead to the next pack and begin evacuation of the first pack. We would do our investigation and search for any survivors. We could smell the burning miles out. I felt uneasy as Charlotte ran harder and faster towards the smell. We had adrenaline flowing through our veins. My security team and myself pushed ourselves faster and soon we were pulling away from the pack. As we were reached about 2 miles out, we stumbled upon dead bodies that had clearly been murdered. It appeared to be a family as a mother, children, and a male, probably the father, had deep claw wounds. Claw wounds to their stomach and throats to ensure they died. I closed my eyes as we squat down to them. The direction they were headed was toward the kingdom. I felt a tear stream down our cheek as I looked at the children. Charlotte let out a growl as Everest and his team came next to us and I linked for us to keep moving. I feared that we would not find any survivors if this was what he was doing. We began running again. We passed more dead bodies along the way. These families were fleeing to safety and I felt that we had failed them. When we approached the gates of the pack, we approached cautiously. Although Ted and his scout team has been here, they didn't search the entire place. They deemed it safe for us to enter, but that goes without saying that no one re-entered the place after they left, going to the next pack. We sat still and listened for any movements or displacement for what felt like an hour but was really only a few minutes. Only thing that could be heard was the burning and smoldering sound of the pack's buildings. We pushed open the gate and I couldn't believe what we saw. It was the absolute look of a war zone that you would see in pictures. Burned buildings and rubble were everywhere, as far as the eye could see. We had to be extra careful as we walked into the gate. We had to be on the lookout for any traps or explosives. We rounded a corner and I couldn't believe what I saw. When we rounded the corner I couldn't believe what I saw. 2 children, one carrying a small teddy bear, and in footed dirty PJs, wandering out in the street. The other had on shorts and a slashed t-shirt. He was a few years older than the other, it appeared. I instantly shifted to my human form, showing them I mean them no harm. They stood frozen in fear at the group of lichens behind me. I gave my warriors a small signal to stand down and they took a few steps away. They gave me the space I needed to be able to have a safe conversation with the children. We didn't want to scare them off and not be able to get them the help they very obviously needed. "Hello, little ones," I spoke softly to them. "Are you hurt?" I asked them both. There was dried blood on their face and on their clothes they wore. I honestly couldn't tell by looking at them if their tattered clothing had their blood or someone else's blood on them. They both shook their head, but when they moved I could see wounds that were slowly healing. Being young children, they didn't have the aggressive healing trait triggered yet. My big brother is hurt. We left him behind to get a band-aid. He can't get up to walk, so we left to find it for him. He said he needed a big band-aid. We can't find him one though. The older of the 2 told me. Your big brother? Can you take me to him, please? We have a medical staff and medical supplies to help him. I am positive we have just what he needs. I told them both. He nodded and turned around and began walking very carefully in the direction of where I assume his older brother was located. I can take you. I remember the way, he said confidently. Who are you? He looked over at me, his hand was tightly holding onto his younger sibling's hand, afraid to let him go. I honestly couldn't blame him, he has been through the absolute worst. My name is Avalynn. I am the mate to King Everest. I responded to him and he stopped walking, turning to get a better look at me. So, you're the queen? Oh my goddess, Brian! Look, she is here to help us. I felt excitement in his voice as he walked faster. I could feel the hope growing in them both. We reached a broken house that had a large crack going through it and the roof was also partially caved in. The front door was busted in and I could smell blood, lots of blood. We walked inside and looked around the broken home. Bubba! We are back. The queen is with us. She is here to help you. He walked in calling out to his brother and I followed him inside. As we approached a young teen, maybe 15 or 16, he laid on the ground with a pool of blood surrounding him. He had deep wounds all over his body, and something tied around his arm, coated in blood. I realized that his arm was ripped from his body and my hands went to my mouth out of shock. I could not believe what I was actually seeing. The young boy's eyes landed to me and a small smile was on his face. He struggled to breathe and I turned around screaming for the medical team to get in the home quickly. We need the medical team in here now. Hurry, we do not have time to waste. I ordered them. The medical team charged in and I took the hands of the younger siblings and passed them off to Amber. She stood at the door opening smiling to them both and squatted to their level. This is Amber, she is my very good friend and she is super nice. She is going to make sure you get some food in you and some water and whatever else you want you can have. We will make sure you both get cleaned up and then we will check you for any wounds. I smiled at them and they hugged me tightly. Thank you for rescuing us. He said softly. Is my brother going to be okay? I thought for a moment, searching for the right words that he could understand. I knew that I couldn't lie to him and give him false hope, so the truth would have to do. Our medical team will do absolutely everything in their power to save his life. They will work very hard, I will make sure that they do everything they can. He has to make it, he protected us. He hit us and even though he scratched us with a knife and told us to play dead so those bad men would ignore us. You know what they did? They walked over our bodies as if they didn't see us just like he said they would. My eyes closed for a moment as I was trying not to cry for them. These three boys were so very brave and so very lucky to be alive. Their brother was their hero with his fast thinking. I looked at them both again. I will tell them to do everything to save your hero of a brother. Now do something for me, please. Eat and hydrate and try to rest, okay? I will have someone take you to the kingdom soon. Yes ma'am, we can do that, Queen Avalynn. They gave me another hug and walked away with Amber. I walked back inside after I composed myself as the medical team were still attempting to stop his arm from bleeding. I looked at him and feared that he wouldn't make it. The link of the medical staff drifted through my mind. Queen Avalynn, his outcome is not looking so great. He has lost a lot of blood and is very, very pale. I fear he may not make it through the night. Although if he does make it through tonight, he has a chance. It would be a slim chance but still a chance. Please do not let him know any of this. We do not need him to stop fighting the good fight to live. He saved his younger brother's lives, he is a hero to them, a hero to me. I told her. She went back to working quickly with her team as she tightened the tourniquet around the upper part of his severed arm. Another staff member injected him with a needle, I assume for the pain he was having. I sat next to him and pushed his hair back away from his face and eyes and his head turned up to look at me. He took a ragged breath before he spoke. Are you really the queen? I smiled. Not officially yet, but King Everest is my fated mate. That is close enough. You don't need a fancy schmancy ceremony for that. He coughed and took a gasp of air. You're a hero, did you know that? Because of your quick thinking, you saved your little brother's lives. They are so very proud of you. How old are you? I told him and he smiled. 16 in 2 weeks. He told me and he looked back at his arm that was gone. Do you think if I find my fated mate that she will reject me? He looked back at me as his eyes filled with tears. Yes, wolves can begin searching for their mates at 16. Let me tell you something, if she rejects you, she is stupid. Who would reject someone who will be given a hero medal of honor or sacrifice from the king and queen? His eyes widened as he looked at me. What? Me? A hero? I am not a hero. I just done what I felt is right. He had tears streaming down his cheeks. I couldn't help my parents. I watched the evil man kill them before he sent his men into the homes to kill all the children. I had to save my brothers, so I smashed our windows and I cut them where it wouldn't kill them and smeared blood all over them. I told them to not say a word until they were long gone. Even when they caught me, they were quiet. His voice cracked as he fought his emotions. Well, what you done to protect your siblings made you that awesome hero. You absolutely deserve this, but you need to stay strong for me. Can you do that? I paused and realized I didn't know his name. My name is Trevor, Queen of Avalynn. Trevor, can you promise me that you will stay strong so you can go to your own ceremony? You did everything in your power to protect those two. Absolutely outstanding. Your parents, though they are not here, are so very proud of you. I pushed his hair back again and he nodded his head. I can do that for you, for my brothers. He smiled though tears were streaming down his face. Good, now get some rest for me while they work on getting you fixed and transported to the nearest hospital. Good job protecting them, I am very proud of you. I watched as he closed his eyes, but the monitor of his heart still beeped. The medicine they gave him must have started to kick in as he was soon asleep. I stood up and let the staff work and do their best on him. Please, if one of you would notify me of any changes. Also, when you take him to the nearest hospital, tell them the king and queen will be paying all medical expenses for him. I want him to have the very best care. I told the lead medical team member Brit. Yes, of course, Queen of Avalynn. Also, the transport van will be here in about 40 minutes or so. She told me. Thank you, Brit. Keep up the hard work. I need to go see what other help needs to be done out there. I left them, but before walking out of the house I turned to look at the young boy and prayed he would make it. I stepped out and saw my mate walking towards me. Is he going to make it? He asked. I felt all of my emotions rush to the surface. I had to stay strong for him and tears threatened to spill down my cheeks. My voice broke as I spoke. I am not sure. I told him he would have to so he could get the King and Queen's Medal of Honor and sacrifice. He saved his younger siblings. How are they? I looked around for them and saw them sitting on the tailgate of a random truck eating. The boys? They're fine, hungry, a few little scrapes and cuts, but they're fine. He told me. Good. I am worried about their brother, Trevor. If he makes it through tonight, then he has a slim chance of making it. I sighed. He will make it. No doubt about it. He wrapped me in a hug and the tears began flowing instantly and freely. I told them that we are paying for any financial needs they may have for him at the nearest hospital. I looked up to him and he nodded his head. Let us walk and help look for any other survivors. He took my hand and we walked all along the pack. It was complete destruction everywhere you looked. As we walked, I told him what Trevor done after he witnessed Dexter murdering his parents. As we walked through the small wolf pack, the windows were smashed, the vehicles set on fire, and big holes in the walls of buildings. Death was everywhere we turned and everywhere we looked. The only survivors were the three brothers. I sighed and felt so defeated after we walked the entire territory. I have never seen so much evil before. This is insane. Dexter has taken it too far. We need to catch him and end him. How does he think that this is acceptable? Why would anyone see this as acceptable? I want to rip his throat out. Why all the innocent bloodshed? Why hurt these babies? Charlotte howled in my mind. Tears streamed down my face silently. I heard the sound of a vehicle approaching and we ran towards the noise. As we approached, the staff was bringing out Trevor on a cot. He was awake. I looked at Brit and she linked me. The van took longer than anticipated. Apparently there are downed power lines and trees from where they were coming from. I nodded to her and walked over to the cot and held my hand up for them to stop walking. Remember to stay strong for me, okay? You got this. Your brothers are safe and will be heading to the kingdom. Get some rest and I will see you in a few days to check on you, okay? He smiled and nodded his head. I'll be strong. I want to visit the kingdom for my medal. I pushed his hair back again away from his face and motioned for them to take him. Everest wrapped his arm around me and I leaned my head against his shoulder. He's going to make it. I said out loud. He has to make it. I heard Everest whisper to me. I stood in his arms as tears streamed from down my cheeks. They just wouldn't stop, but this left me feeling broken. It reminded me of the stories that were told to me about my own family. No one deserves this. Our warriors looked worn out as they all prepared to leave. We wouldn't be going too far this evening, just far enough to reach a clearing big enough for all of us to sleep. We preferred if it was on a hillside somewhere, that way we could see all around us. I wrote in my little book to revisit and rebuild the pack once things settled down. We all shifted and moved away from the broken little wolf town. We walked until the sun was gone and the moon was high in the sky. We finally reached our destination and we slept in our lichen form. It was safer that way. If we were to be attacked, we wouldn't have to take time to shift. Charlotte cuddled right up and we were out pretty quickly. Our souls were tired and we needed the small break from what our reality was today. I didn't sleep well, my memories of the day's events played in my mind. I decided to get up around almost 5. I wanted to shift but knew I was safest while Charlotte was out. This was especially true since I wanted to walk around the camp. The sun was already closing the door on the darkness, light stretching across the horizon. The minute that Charlotte stood to stretch our muscles, Everest's lichen, Connor stirred as his side went cold from the lack of heat we let off. He let out a loud yawn sound and continued to stretch his muscles standing next to us. We nuzzled one another and walked quietly together around the camp. We checked on all of the members and made sure everyone was safe and sound. We made sure there was no quiet surprise attacks while we slept. We finally found us a quiet spot to sit together, still in our lichen forms as we watched the sun finish rising in the sky. Charlotte leaned against Connor as a deep vibrating noise of approval and content radiated through his body. We all took this moment of peace in together. The sunrise reminded me of the peace there will be soon, once things are said and done. There is a beautiful side of the world and not all is lost and ugly. The world may have evil, yes, but the world also has a lot of good in it too. I vowed to be the good in the world. I would show mercy when mercy could be given but hard when swift justice should be made. Evil would not find its way into my heart, even when having to face it head on. What about when you have to kill someone? Charlotte teased and I frowned at her. If we have to kill someone, it was to either protect myself, loved ones, and members of our community, or because justice would be served. Do not get being a good leader with a weak-hearted fool. I felt her nod of approval. Good, because I plan on serving some justice when we see that lil devil. She huffed out loud, causing Connor to look at our way. I linked them both. We were both just discussing my new outlook in wanting to be the kindness and good the world needs. Charlotte still wants to make sure our justice would still be served. I laughed through the link. I felt both their approval through the link as they moved closer to us. Connor nipped at Charlotte playfully. They have still yet to seal their mating bond, and I stepped back, giving Charlotte full control. I felt Everest do the same as they ran through the woods together. They still stayed close to the camp, but far enough away from prying eyes and listening ears. They played and ran together until they found a nice spot and completed their mating bond. We were fully whole, forever bonded together by the fates and the moon goddess. When we came back to the camp, people were already getting ready for the day. Charlotte and Connor walked side by side, their tails intertwining with one another. I could feel their love for one another. It felt just like mine and Everest's love for one another. They nuzzled before splitting and shifting into our human forms to address the group and be able to eat a proper breakfast. I felt Charlotte retreat happily into the back of our mind. She was so incredibly happy, it was almost scary. She was always so hardcore, angry, and revengeful that it was nice to finally see her completely happy. As I was walking over to where the food was being cooked, Amber joined me. Have you heard the good news? I have not. Is it of Trevor? I asked hopefully. It is. He made it through the night. I got the message 3 minutes ago. I came directly to you. She gave me a hug. How are the brothers doing? I asked her. Oh, they are fine. Excited to be leaving for the kingdom today. We wanted to wait to see what was going on with Trevor before we shipped them to the kingdom. That way, if he wasn't going to make it, they could say their final goodbyes. It was for the best. At least they got to say goodbye and see you soon, today. I smiled at that thought. I knew I promised I would see him soon, and I need to make good on that promise. In a few more days I would make the trip with Everest and our warriors to spend an entire day there. Give them a day of rest and a decent hot meal and hot shower. You're right. When are you going to see him? She asked me, as if she was trying to read my mind. In a few days, probably after we evacuate the next TWP packs. All of us are going. I threw a piece of bacon on my plate. All of us? Should seemed confused. Yep. That way everyone can have a day of rest and clean up and relax some. This is stressful for everyone involved. I sighed. I wish I could have killed they jerk so we could have avoided all of this. It isn't your fault he drugged you, Ava. She put her hand on my shoulder. I know, I just wish I could have. I clenched my jaw, the feeling of anger rushing into my bloodstream. If you would have tried something, you may not be here today. You did the right thing. You played him like a fiddle and he believed everything you said to him. All this destruction is not your fault. Please do not blame yourself. She hugged me after I set my food down. I hugged her tightly in return. We took our food and sat down under a tree. I had a granola bar, an apple, a water with a tropical fruit punch enhancer, bacon, sausage, and eggs. It was pretty tasty considering it was cooked over an open flame. My stomach felt happy and I felt my energy level rise. Everest sat down next to us and he was chewing his food. Jameson joined us shortly after and we sat in our small circle, our security teams not too far away from us. We ate until we were all satisfied and had small talk about our current situations. Ted sent Everest a text and he summed it up for us. He basically said that it seems that Dexter's men were keeping close to the coastline. Depending on which direction he chooses, there were 2 different packs to evacuate. He suggested that we should push ourselves hard and evacuate them both as soon as we possibly could. They're both small packs, one is Lycan and the other is wolves. He looked at us all. Obviously we helped the wolf pack first. Lycans are stronger and faster than wolves, so if something was to happen then they could hold their own more easily. I blurted out. She has a point. Jameson agreed with me. They would be more likely to hit a wolf pack versus a small but still strong and capable Lycan pack. We all watched as Everest thought of these both and after a moment nodded his head. Yeah. That is true. He would be able to bully a wolf pack more than a Lycan pack. He stood and paced in front of us, contemplating all his choices. Yep, that's it. Let's get them ready to go. We need to leave within the next hour. He outstretched his arm and I took it as we stood. I felt his link go through my mind, telling everyone to be ready within the hour. I watched all around us as our warriors began to clean up the mess we had made. Soon it looked as if we were never really there. Everest had received a message from Ted telling us that Dexter and his men were still at their camp. Time to shift and move on. We are heading to Blue Moon Wolf Pack. Remember to always be alert and ready for the unexpected. Now, let's shift and get to our destination. Everest's link cut as we all shifted into our Lycan forms. I could feel the positive energy radiating from our warriors as we walked to the front of the group. We moved and pushed through the forest. The trees snapped and bushes were demolished into nothingness from our running. Luckily we didn't feel much of it as our Lycans were strong and tough. If we did, our accelerated healing helped in our protection. It didn't take us too long. Only a few hours of hard running to reach the wolf pack. When we crossed into their territory, we were met immediately by the wolves guarding their territory line. Everest sent out his aurora and they quickly fell in line and ran with us. I am sure alerting how fast we were moving. Time was our enemy and we were working against the clock. We made it to the pack house in, I am sure, a record-set time. The Alpha and his Luna, the Beta, or anyone else who should be present were missing still. I shifted back into my human form as well as Everest. I turned to look at our warriors and shook my head and linked them all. Please stay in your Lycan forms. We will need to get to work quickly once we get the ball rolling. Please stay alert, we don't know what could happen. I shut the link down as we were walking to the front door of the pack house. As we were midway up the steps, the door flung open and out rushed a middle-aged Alpha and his Luna. Following closely behind was their 4 children, 3 girls, and a son. King Everest and Queen Avalynn. I am very sorry, we were not expecting you to be here so fast. They bowed to us and Everest went straight into business mode. Daniel, good to see you. I need an important word with you about your pack. Care to join me in your office so we can discuss matters? You could tell by looking at him that he was very serious. They both turned to walk away. He linked me. Please walk with their Luna to her conference room. She will need to know how dangerous this situation is for her and her children. We won't be long, love. Her name is Bridget. Can do, love. I replied. Bridget. I smiled as her attention turned to me. Care to show me into your office, that way we can make a plan after I tell you what is going on. I watched as she nodded and looked at her children, asking, is it serious? About the attacks? I gave a small nod to her and watched her pale. Okay. My loves, will you please go pack a bag? Make sure you are able to carry it with you. She turned and was speaking to her children before walking with me. I followed her to her office and we sat down in the chairs. So the Rouge Royal Dexter completely demolished another wolf pack closer to the coast. I paused and watched her facial expressions turn into fear. My goddess, were there any survivors? She asked me. Yes. 3 brothers. The oldest name is Trevor. Trevor sustained life-threatening injuries, but we were able to get to him in time, and he is in a bigger pack with a great hospital staff. He told me he watched his parents die and needed to think of something quick to save his brothers. They are fine and are safely traveling to the kingdom to be taken care of. I told her. Trevor? Which pack is this? She seemed like she knew the name. It was the Cresting Moon Wolf pack. I stated. Her hands went to her mouth and she had a tear slide down her face. That is my brother's pack. She cried. I felt the instinct was to hug her and did so. She had tears streaming down her face. Her forehead was on my shoulder when her mate and mine came busting into the room. Bridget, my love, I am so sorry about your brother. She stood and went into his arms as he held her tightly. But we must go. We need to warn our people, now. We must leave soon. Our warriors and myself will be going with Everest. You must lead the rest back to the kingdom. Back to our nephews who are needing you. His hands were cupped against either side of her face as he spoke to her. I watched as her eyes closed and she gathered herself. When she opened her eyes, blinking away the remainder of her tears, she nodded her head. Let's get going, time is wasting. She pushed her hurt and feelings aside as we all left the room. When we went down, word quickly spread that the Leaken King and Queen were visiting. The surrounding open space was covered with the pack, anxious to see a glimpse of the royals and wondering why we were here. We walked out and stood out on the tops of the steps. My hand was in Everest's as I looked out at the crowd. Daniel and Bridget were right next to us as they looked out to the crowd. Not everyone is here, give them a few more minutes. Daniel said quietly and Everest nodded. I watched Daniel's eyes glaze over as he was linking his pack. Soon his eyes went normal and he watched as more people crowded in the open yard. Okay, everyone is here now. He said to us and Everest nodded his head and cleared his throat, preparing to speak to the wolves. Everyone in the pack gathered in the courtyard. You could sense the uneasy and curious feelings they all had. Everest let my hand go and it dropped to my side as I watched him step forward to speak to them all. Good evening everyone. I know your Alpha said that we had urgent news to discuss with you all, and this is true. The decision we have come to, together, is not an easy one to make, but is the best choice and option we could think of for the entire pack. We are ordering a mass evacuation of everyone in this pack. Effective immediately. Take essential items like clothing and self-care items with you. The crowd whispering grew into a dull roar as the feeling became a panic situation. Everest raised his hands in the air to motion them to settle, and they quickly done as he instructed. Please, do not panic, this move is due to the Royal Rouge Leakin, Dexter, who wants to claim all as his own. He kidnapped my mate and we retrieved her. It appears that he will stop at Nothaji until he gets what he wants. He turned and gave me a small smile and everyone looked at me. He returned to look at the pack and continued speaking, we just came from another pack where he murdered hundreds of lives. There were only 3 survivors and they have been moved to a safe location. We are trying to protect you all from the same fate. Those who will be staying with our Leakin warriors are the elite pack warriors. We need the rest of the pack members to go and help back at the kingdom. Please, go pack and be back in exactly 1 hour. We leave then. Everest stepped back and took my hand as the crowd hurriedly evacuated the yard to go pack. Everest looked over at Daniel. Please have your elite warriors here in 45 minutes so they and you can be fully briefed by Jameson on our plan. He nodded as his eyes glazed over, linking his elite warriors. We walked back inside with the Alpha and Luna and sat at a conference table. Jameson and Amber met us there. We briefed the 2 on our detailed plan of where we were going to next. After that, if Dexter chooses to overtake this pack, he will be in rage mode and move to the Leakin pack next pretty quickly. That is where we are going next, to evacuate the weak, and then we are going to a safe location to rest up before making the push to Sir Brennan and his Leakin pack to bring him to justice. Thankfully there isn't any known pacts between the Leakin pack and Sir Brennan's. Dexter and Brennan are working together to conquer the Northern Territory. We watched them for a moment and Bridget turned to her mate. Please, do not abandon us. This Dexter took out my entire brother's pack, please do not go. She was moved to tears again. I watched Daniel move closer to his mate and press his forehead against hers. You know my duties is to lead my pack in the right direction. Who would I be if I sent our strongest and stayed behind? I cannot do this, darling. Take good care of our children and my nephews while you are in the kingdom. Go and get your things, I will see you in 15 minutes. He kissed her before she left and he looked back at us. Will she be safe in the kingdom? He asked Everest. Everest nodded his head. She will be very safe there. Have no fear, your mate and children will be safe once they reach their destination. I will see you in a moment, let me help her with her things and my children's things. I will be right down. He stood, bowed his head and left the room. It is hard to be uprooted from the life you know, uncertain of what the future holds for you. I stated aloud as I watched the door that was closed now. I felt Everest's eyes on me and felt him wondering what I could have meant. I turned and sighed. When my mother died, my life changed for a second time. I was bullied by that ridiculous pup rider and his circle of stupid friends. My brother wouldn't have anything to do with me and left me to fend for myself. I struggled every single day. When you met me in the woods that day at the waterfall, I was ready to end all of my suffering. But you were there and I found you, well, you found me, I guess. Then I find out that I am not a weak human but a lost royal Leakin. You sweep me away to an unknown kingdom where I was terrified if I would even be accepted. I am and I grow to love where I am, only to be snatched away again and fearful of what my future could end up being. I can relate to the way they are both feeling, I guess is what all of this boils down to. It is not a great feeling to have. I felt tears sting my eyes as I recall on the emotional roller coaster these last few months have been. It hasn't been for the faint of heart. I do realize, however, that I have grown and become stronger for going through it, not only for myself but my people. I would walk through hell's fire for my people and fight until my last breath for them too. I stood and walked over to the big window as I watched the wolves begin to gather out in the courtyard. The elites are here, we must go. I said softly as I turned and Everest was standing right behind me. He was so close I couldn't believe I hadn't heard him come up behind me. He pushed a loose strand of hair away as his eyes searched my face. His head dipped down as his lips met mine softly. I smiled against his lips as his arms wrapped around my waist. He pulled away and I looked up to him. You are an incredible woman, please don't ever forget that, okay? I know you have been through some terrible shit. I will make it better for you and for our future. He dipped down and kissed me again. When he parted, my hand rested upon his shoulder. Thank you, for everything, my love. He hugged me to his chest. Let's get this briefing over with, shall we? I didn't answer him right away as my arms tightened around his waist. He didn't say anything and just held me tightly against him. I needed this weird form of therapy. It felt as if he was healing my wounds with his love. After a few moments, when I felt satisfied enough to tackle this next part of this mission, I let him go and we joined the pack's group of elites. They bowed their heads as we both approached. I scanned and there seemed to be about 60 of them gathered. This was a decent amount considering the pack was small in size. It surprised me. I stayed back in the background with Amber and we watched my mate and hers team up in the debriefing. They covered everything that they needed to know, from the beginning to where we want to end up it. Not a single one of them winced or looked frightened. You will stay with your alpha in the center of our group as we travel to the Leakin pack. You are better protected this way, especially against a Leakin ambush. If you are traveling outside, you do not stand a chance against a Leakin. It would take at the very least 3 of you to take down a single Leakin warrior. Remember that on the battlefield. Use your linking capabilities to use teamwork to overthrow whatever comes our way. Yes, King Everest. They all replied in unison. Now. I clapped my hands together and stepped forward. Their attention snapping to me, let us go tell the remainder of your fellow pack members farewell. Amber will be leading your pack members and your Luna to the kingdom, along with a few of our Leakin warriors. Your mates, friends, and loved ones will be safe on the route they are taking. I assured them. Once they reach the kingdom, Amber and the others will rejoin us back out here. Let's take a few moments to say our farewells. I motioned to the front gate as they all stood and left. Amber, I will keep a link open just for you. Please be careful. You know all the different ways back to the kingdom. If it seems iffy, please change your direction and link your mate, myself, or Everest and we will turn around to come help. I told her and embraced her in a hug. Please take 2 of my security guards with you, it would make me feel better. I smiled. Are you sure? I feel like they would better protect you. She protested. I have all of this. I motioned around. Besides, you are traveling a long ways there and back. Yeah, okay. You're right. Thank you, Avalynn. It means a lot. She smiled and we all walked out to the courtyard together. We stayed silent as we watched the heart-wrenching goodbyes. I couldn't help but to feel this would be the last time some would see the ones they love. I know they all knew this too. The 60 brave elite fighters leaving today may not be here with us in the weeks to come. I crossed my arms and chewed at my bottom lip, lost in my thoughts. I never heard Everest speaking to me and had my gaze fixated on a tree. Avalynn? Avalynn? Hello? Ava, are you there? He waved his hand in front of my face, causing me to jump backwards. Yes? I am sorry, I was lost in my thoughts. I told him. I was just saying that we are ready and it is time to shift, my love. Are you okay? He did have a worried look on his face. I don't generally space out, lost in my own mind. Oh. Yes, I am fine. Just thinking about our mission. Which was not a complete and total fib. I was more lost in the aftermath of our mission. The what if this happened scenario. I shook the feeling again, as I watched Everest shift to his Leakin. I quickly followed suit as Charlotte pushed forward for control and I gave it to her. Our bones elongated, fur sprouted, my face shifted to form a snout, and my sense heightened. I retreated into the back of Charlotte's mind now, as I have felt her do before. I would allow myself to get completely lost in my thoughts. Charlotte, if something happens, please bring me back forward and allow me to help be an extra set of eyes and a voice of reason. She snorted as she walked alongside Connor. Of course I will. Please go figure out what you need to figure out. I know something is eating away at you. I took her advice and sat back, letting her have complete control over our body. It felt like meditation as it was quiet and I almost completely shut the world out. I was trying to think of different ways we could take this impending war on. We were going to end up in a battle, eventually. I was just worried that a battle would cripple us and the kingdom. If it did, it was just something we would have to do. My mind soon drifted to Miranda and King Brent. I wondered if Miranda was healing properly. I know her wounds almost killed her, but I had hoped that she would survive. I also found it funny how the fates aligned for them to be mates. It is very uncommon for a wolf to be mated outside of a wolf, but a Leakin was pretty much unheard of. The next time we were in our human form, I would ask that Everest would reach out to King Brent to see how things were. After what felt like a few minutes, was actually several hours. It was dark as we were running with everything we had. We had zero time for sleep, which is why our human forms should be resting, conserving energy. I peered through Charlotte's eyes as she ran. I thought my human side had excellent sight at night, due to our Leakin, but wow! Charlotte's vision was unmatched competition on her night vision. It was just as vivid as daylight, it seemed. She moved beautifully, even running as hard and as fast as she was. Where exactly are we? I asked her and felt her smile. We are almost there, maybe less than an hour. We are not stopping or changing to our human forms until we are in the yard, at their steps. Be ready to shift us, it's going to be a fast shift. Connor and Everest linked the Leakin pack and they're currently waiting for us. Wow, okay. I am ready whenever you are. I stayed, watching through her eyes. I could feel how tired she was becoming, but she never showed it. We would need to let the pack rest as soon as we stopped. It wasn't long before we reached the gates of the pack. As Charlotte had said earlier, they opened right up for us and we ran right through. As we ran, I could feel the lichens of the pack that were on patrol guide us to our destination. As we reached the courtyard of their pack and came up on the stairs, Everest and I both shifted in front of the man standing at the bottom step. Everest and him greeted each other in a hug. "Cousin, it is nice to see you again." I didn't realize this was his cousin. Maybe that's why he had a small strong group of lichens out here, family bloodline linked to royals and all. Still, I was excited to meet family. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.